I'll never forget the morning of June 15th, my 36th birthday, when a package arrived that would expose the darkest secret my family had been hiding for over a decade. What started as an innocent delivery to my home in suburban Phoenix, Arizona, ended with federal agents at my door and my entire world crashing down. My name is Rebecca, and this is the story of how I discovered my own sister had been using my identity to run an illegal operation, and how my parents had been helping her do it. It was 7:30 a.m. when the doorbell rang. I was in my kitchen, making coffee for my husband Mark before he left for his construction job. We'd been married for 12 years, and our morning routine was sacred, quiet, peaceful. Just the two of us before the chaos of the day began. "Expecting something?" Mark asked, glancing toward the front door. "Not that I know of," I replied, but something in my stomach already felt wrong. Call it intuition, call it years of experience with my dysfunctional family, but I knew this wasn't going to be good. The package sat on our doormat like a ticking bomb, medium-sized brown cardboard, completely unremarkable except for one thing. There was no return address. Just a shipping label with my name, Rebecca Martinez, and our address printed in cold, mechanical letters. Mark picked it up and immediately frowned. "This is heavy. What do you think it is?" "I have no idea." But even as I said it, my phone started buzzing. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Rebecca. The voice was sickeningly sweet. My mother, Linda, sounding like she'd been drinking honey for breakfast. "Did you get our little surprise?" My blood ran cold. My parents, Linda and Robert Thompson, lived in Tucson, 2 hours away, and we barely spoke. The last time they'd sent me anything was 5 years ago, a gas station gift card for Christmas with $12.50 left on it. "What surprise, Mom?" "Oh, you'll see. We just wanted to show you how much we love you, sweetheart. Happy birthday." She hung up before I could respond. Mark was staring at me with those dark eyes that had learned to read every micro-expression on my face over the years. "That was your mom?" "Yeah. She says they sent me a birthday present." Mark looked down at the box in his hands, then back at me. "When's the last time your parents sent you a birthday present?" "Never." We stood there in our entryway, both of us staring at this innocent-looking package like it might explode, because in my family, when Linda Thompson suddenly starts calling you sweetheart and claiming to love you, someone's about to get screwed. "Don't open it," Mark said quietly. "Why? What do you see?" He turned the box toward me, pointing at something I'd missed. "Look at the shipping label." "Really look?" That's when I saw it. The label wasn't just printed, it was professional grade. The kind you see on commercial shipments, not personal gifts. The barcode was longer than normal, and there was a tracking number that looked more like a government form than a birthday present. But what made my heart stop was the small logo in the corner, a tiny symbol that looked like 2 letters intertwined, AR. I knew that logo. I'd seen it before. Before I could process what that meant, my phone rang again. Different number this time, but I recognized the area code. Phoenix Police Department. "Mrs. Martinez, this is Detective Sarah Chen with Phoenix PD. We've received a report about a suspicious package delivered to your address this morning. We're sending officers to collect it. Please don't open or handle the package until we arrive." The line went dead. Mark and I looked at each other, then at the box, then back at each other. "How did they know?" I whispered. "Someone called them," Mark said grimly. "Question is who and why?" But deep down, I already knew. This wasn't random. This wasn't a coincidence, and it definitely wasn't a birthday present. This was my family doing what they did best. Making me pay for someone else's mistakes. If you're already hooked by this twisted family drama, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Trust me, you're going to want to follow this story to its shocking conclusion. And drop a comment if you've ever had family members who seemed just a little too willing to throw you under the bus. 20 minutes later, 2 police cruisers pulled up in front of our house. Detective Chen was a small woman with sharp eyes and the kind of nonsense attitude that told me she'd seen every type of family dysfunction Phoenix had to offer. "Mrs. Martinez, I need to ask you some questions about your relationship with your sister, Ashley Thompson." My heart sank. Ashley, my younger sister, by 4 years. The golden child who could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. The one who borrowed money and never paid it back. Who temporarily used my address for things. Who always had some new business venture that was going to make her rich. "What about Ashley? When's the last time you spoke with her?" I had to think. Christmas, maybe. We don't really stay in touch. Detective Chen made a note. Has she ever asked to use your name or address for business purposes? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Because yes, she had. Multiple times over the years. Always with some excuse about being between apartments or needing a stable address for her latest entrepreneurial scheme. And like an idiot, I'd said yes. Because she was family. Because my parents guilted me into it. Because I thought it was harmless. Yes, I admitted. A few times, for mail forwarding, business licenses, things like that. Detective Chen's expression darkened. Mrs. Martinez, your sister has been running an illegal antiquities smuggling operation for the past 3 years. According to our investigation, she's been using your name and address as the official business registration. The world tilted sideways. What? The package that was delivered to you this morning contains stolen artifacts from a museum robbery in New Mexico. Your name is listed as the intended recipient and the registered owner of the business that ordered them. I felt Mark's hand on my back, steadying me. This couldn't be happening. This was Ashley we were talking about, irresponsible. Flighty Ashley who couldn't hold down a job at Starbucks, let alone run a criminal enterprise. But then I remembered the logo on the package, AR. Ashley Rebecca, her initials combined, with my middle name. Detective, I said slowly, I think my family set me up. To understand how my own family could betray me so completely, you need to understand Ashley Thompson, and the twisted dynamic that had defined our relationship since childhood. Ashley was born when I was 4 years old, and from the moment she took her first breath, she became the center of our family's universe. Where I was serious and responsible, Ashley was charming and spontaneous. Where I followed rules, Ashley broke them with a smile that could melt glaciers. But here's the thing about golden children, they're not actually golden. They're just better at making other people clean up their messes. I was 8 years old the first time. I took the blame for something Ashley did. She'd gotten into my mother's jewelry box and scattered expensive earrings all over the bedroom floor, some of them ending up down the heating vent, lost forever. When Mom discovered the mess, Ashley pointed at me with tears streaming down her face. Becca did it. She was playing dress-up. I hadn't touched the jewelry box. I was in the living room reading a book, as always, but Ashley was crying, and in our house, tears were currency. Whoever cried first won. Rebecca Marie Thompson. My mother snapped, "You're the older one. You should know better." I was grounded for a week. Ashley got ice cream for being traumatized by my selfishness. That's when I learned the rules of our family. Ashley's feelings mattered more than the truth. Ashley's tears were more valuable than my honesty. And when something went wrong, I was the designated scapegoat. This pattern continued through our entire childhood. When Ashley broke my grandmother's china cabinet reaching for candy, I got blamed for not watching her. When she forged Mom's signature on a failed test, I was punished for being a bad influence. When she crashed Dad's car into a mailbox at 16, somehow it became my fault for not teaching her responsibility. By the time we reached adulthood, I'd learned to keep my distance. I moved to Phoenix, got married, built a quiet life with Mark. Ashley stayed in Tucson, bouncing from job to job, relationship to relationship, scheme to scheme. But she always had our parents' support. When she dropped out of community college, they said she was finding herself. When she got fired from 3 jobs in 6 months, they said she was too creative for traditional employment. When she started her first business selling knockoff designer purses at flea markets, they called her an entrepreneur. Meanwhile, I worked as a medical receptionist, paid my bills on time, and saved for retirement. Boring, stable Rebecca. The responsible one, the one who didn't need their help or attention. About 2 years ago, Ashley called me with what seemed like a reasonable request. "Becca, I need a favor. I'm starting a new business, importing decorative items from Mexico. But I'm moving apartments next month, and I need a stable address for the business license. Could I use yours? Just temporarily." I should have said no. Every instinct told me to say no, but Ashley had that voice she used when she wanted something vulnerable, almost childlike, and she played the family card. "Mom and Dad said you'd probably help me out. They said you're always so good about family stuff." So I said yes, because I was tired of being the cold sister, because I wanted my parents to see me as supportive for once, because Ashley promised it was temporary. She sent me the paperwork, and I signed it without reading it carefully. It looked legitimate: business license application for AR imports, with my address listed as the headquarters. What does AR stand for? I asked when she called to confirm. Ashley Rebecca, she said sweetly. I named it after both of us. You know, since you're helping me get started, I thought it was touching. How naive can one person be? For months, I'd occasionally get mail for AR imports, official-looking documents, tax forms, shipping notifications. I'd forward them to Ashley's current address and think nothing of it. Then the packages started arriving. Small ones at first. Ashley would drive up from Tucson to collect them, always with some excuse about why they couldn't be delivered directly to her. The new apartment complex has problems with their mail system, she'd say, or the delivery company doesn't recognize the address yet. I didn't question it. Why would I? She was my sister. Family helps family, right? But now, sitting in my living room with Detective Chen, explaining that AR Imports was actually a front for smuggling stolen artifacts, every seemingly innocent detail took on a sinister new meaning. The professional packaging, the expensive shipping, the way Ashley never let me see what was in the boxes, the fact that she'd named the company after both of us, making me an unwitting partner in her crimes. Mrs. Martinez, Detective Chen continued, according to our investigation, AR Imports has been used to move approximately $2.3 million worth of stolen antiquities over the past 18 months. Your signature is on every major transaction. My throat felt like sandpaper. My signature. Will need you to come to the station to verify. But yes, business loans, insurance policies, import licenses, all bearing your name and signature. Mark spoke up for the first time since the detective arrived. Rebecca would never sign documents she didn't understand. Someone forged her signature. Detective Chen looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. Ma'am, have you ever given your family access to documents with your signature on them? The room started spinning. Because yes, I had. Years ago, when I was helping my parents organize their financial documents, I'd left copies of my tax returns, my ID, even my social security card at their house. I trusted them, I whispered. Mrs. Martinez, I need to ask you directly, did you knowingly participate in any aspect of your sister's business? No, I just let her use my address. I had no idea what she was really doing. Detective Chen made more notes. We're going to need you to come to the station this afternoon to give a formal statement. And Mrs. Martinez, you should probably call a lawyer. As she left, I sat on my couch trying to process what had just happened. My sister, my baby sister who I'd protected and covered for our entire lives, had been systematically destroying my life for the past 2 years. And my parents, they'd known. They had to have known. The phone rang. Mom, again. This time, I answered with pure ice in my voice. Did you know? Silence. Mom, did you know what Ashley was doing? Sweetheart, we can explain. I hung up. That's when I realized the package this morning wasn't random. They'd been planning this. The timing, the fake cheerfulness, the way Mom called to make sure I'd received it before the police arrived. They were setting me up to take the fall. 3 hours after Detective Chen left my house, I was sitting in the Phoenix Police Department, giving what would be the first of many statements about my sister's criminal enterprise. But what I discovered there would shatter everything I thought I knew about my family. Mrs. Martinez, Detective Chen said, sliding a thick folder across the table. I want you to look at these documents and tell me if you recognize your signature. My hands were shaking as I opened the folder. The first page was a business loan application for $150,000, dated 8 months ago. At the bottom, in what looked like my handwriting, was my signature. But I'd never seen this document before in my life. This isn't mine, I said immediately. I mean, it looks like my signature, but I never applied for a business loan. Look closer, Detective Chen said gently. Look at the way the R connects to the E in Rebecca. I stared at the signature. It was good, really good. But there was something slightly off about the way the letters flowed together. It was like looking at a photograph of myself where someone had subtly changed my features. Someone copied my signature, I said. We think so too. But Mrs. Martinez, whoever did this, had access to multiple examples of your real signature. This isn't a simple forgery. This is someone who studied your handwriting extensively. She flipped to the next page. Another loan application, this one for $75,000. Then an insurance policy listing me as the primary beneficiary of AR Imports. Then rental agreements for storage units in Phoenix, Tucson, and El Paso. Every single document bore my forged signature. How many storage units? I asked, feeling sick. 12 that we've identified so far. All rented under your name. All paid for with money from accounts opened in your name. The room was spinning. Accounts opened in my name. Detective Chen pulled out her laptop and turned it toward me. AR Imports has been operating with 3 different business bank accounts, all listing you as the primary account holder. The total deposits over the past 18 months exceed $2.8 million. I stared at the screen, showing bank statements with my name at the top. Deposits ranging from $15,000 to $400,000, coming in every few weeks, like clockwork. Where did all this money come from? Sales of stolen artifacts to private collectors, mostly overseas. Your sister, or someone using your identity, has been running a very sophisticated operation. That's when Detective Chen showed me something that made my blood freeze. Mrs. Martinez, do you recognize this address? She pointed to a document listing the registered headquarters of AR Imports. It wasn't my address in Phoenix. It was my parents' address in Tucson. That's where my parents live. According to these records, AR Imports moved its official headquarters to that address 6 months ago. The change was filed with a notarized signature. Yours. I felt like I was drowning. My parents knew. They had to know. Mrs. Martinez, there's something else. We've been monitoring your sister's communications for the past 3 weeks as part of this investigation. Would you like to hear what she said about you? I wasn't sure I wanted to know, but I nodded. Detective Chen played an audio recording on her phone. Ashley's voice, bright and casual, talking to someone I didn't recognize. Don't worry about Rebecca. She's so naive, she'll never figure it out. And if she does, Mom and Dad will handle it. They've been covering from me our whole lives. They're not going to stop now. The voice responded. What if she goes to the police? Ashley laughed. Becca, she won't. She's too worried about keeping the family together. Besides, her name is on everything. If this operation goes down, she goes down with it. The recording ended. I sat in stunned silence. Mrs. Martinez, we believe your family has been planning to make you the fall guy for this operation from the beginning. The question is, were you ever supposed to find out, or were they planning to let you discover it when federal agents showed up at your door? I thought about the package that morning. The way my mother called immediately to ask if it had arrived. The sickeningly sweet tone in her voice. They wanted me to open it, I said slowly. They wanted the police to find me with stolen artifacts in my possession. That's what we think too. Except someone tipped us off about the delivery before you could open it. Who? Detective Chen hesitated. We're not sure yet. The tip came from an anonymous caller who knew the exact contents of the package and your address. Someone who wanted to make sure we intercepted it before you could incriminate yourself. A chill ran down my spine. Someone in this mess was trying to protect me, but who? Detective, I need to ask you something. If I hadn't called you guys, if I'd just opened that package like my family expected, what would have happened to me? She looked grim. Federal charges for trafficking in stolen antiquities, money laundering, and conspiracy. You'd be looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. The room went silent except for the hum of fluorescent lights and my own ragged breathing. They were going to let me go to prison, I whispered. Mrs. Martinez, I need you to understand something. Your sister's operation isn't small time. These aren't trinkets from tourist shops. We're talking about artifacts stolen from the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City. Pieces missing from private collections in Arizona and New Mexico. Items that are literally priceless cultural treasures. She pulled out photos of some of the recovered items, ancient pottery, gold jewelry, stone carvings that looked like they belonged in textbooks about pre-Columbian civilizations. This is serious federal crime territory. If your family succeeds in pinning this on you, you wouldn't just lose a few years of your life, you'd lose everything. I stared at the photos, trying to wrap my mind around the scope of what Ashley had been doing. My flighty, irresponsible little sister was apparently an international art thief. How did she even know how to do this? We're still investigating that. But Mrs. Martinez, we think your sister might not be the mastermind here. What do you mean? Detective Chen leaned forward. This operation is too sophisticated for someone with Ashley's background. The paperwork, the international connections, the ability to move money without detection. This required someone with experience in finance, legal documents, and probably law enforcement procedures. A terrible thought crept into my mind. My father used to work for the State Tax Bureau. He knows how government paperwork works. We know. We're looking into your parents' involvement very carefully. I felt like I was learning that my entire family were strangers. People I'd known my whole life had been living secret lives, running criminal operations, and planning to destroy me to save themselves. Detective, can I ask you something? That anonymous tip this morning, could it have come from someone in my family? It's possible. Mrs. Martinez, is there anyone in your family who might have wanted to protect you from this? I tried to think. My parents had always favored Ashley. My extended family lived too far away to be involved. But then I remembered something Ashley had said in the recording. If this operation goes down, she goes down with it. What if someone in the family realized that destroying me would destroy them too? What if someone had second thoughts? I don't know, I said finally. But detective, what happens now? Now, you go home and act normal. Don't contact your family. Don't try to investigate this yourself. We're watching your sister and your parents, and we need them to think you don't know anything yet. For how long, however long it takes to build our case. Mrs. Martinez, I know this is overwhelming, but you need to understand, you're not just a victim here. You're our best chance at exposing the full scope of this operation. As I drove home, my phone rang constantly. Mom, Dad, Ashley, all trying to reach me. I followed Detective Chen's instructions and ignored every call, but when I got home, Mark was waiting with a cup of tea and a grim expression. Becca, there's something you need to see. He handed me his laptop, opened to a news article from the Tucson Daily Star. Local family under investigation for art trafficking scheme. My parents' names were in the headline. When did this come out? 20 minutes ago. Becca, your families. The story is falling apart faster than they expected. I read the article with growing horror. According to the reporter, federal agents had raided my parents' house that afternoon and discovered a storage room filled with stolen artifacts. But the last paragraph made me nearly drop the laptop. Sources close to the investigation report that the scheme may have been masterminded by Rebecca Martinez of Phoenix, Arizona, who is listed as the primary owner of the business used to facilitate the trafficking operation. They were still trying to pin this on me, even with federal agents at their door. Even with evidence of their guilt spread across the front page of the newspaper, my family was still trying to make me the villain. I looked at Mark, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I started to cry. They really don't love me at all, do they? That night, while I was trying to process the fact that my own family had been planning to send me to federal prison, my phone rang with a call that would reveal just how deep their betrayal really went. The number was blocked, but something made me answer Rebecca. The voice was shaky, unfamiliar. Who is this? It's me. It's Ashley. I almost hung up immediately. Detective Chen had told me not to contact my family, but she hadn't said anything about Ashley contacting me. Ashley, I can't talk to you. The police told me, Becca, please, just listen for 1 minute. I'm not calling from my phone, and I'm not at home. I need to tell you something. Against my better judgment, I stayed on the line. What, this morning? When that package was delivered to your house, I didn't send it. My blood went cold. What do you mean you didn't send it? I mean Mom and Dad sent it, without telling me. Becca, they were setting you up, and they were setting me up too. I could hear traffic in the background, like she was calling from a payphone or a parking lot somewhere. Ashley, what are you talking about? The business, AR imports, that was real. I was moving artifacts, just like the police said. But Becca, I thought they were replicas. I thought I was selling really good fake ancient art to rich people who wanted to look cultured. You thought they were fake. Mom and Dad told me they had a connection with a company in Mexico that made museum-quality reproductions. They said wealthy collectors would pay huge money for replicas that looked authentic, as long as they came with certificates and looked official. I felt like I was falling down a rabbit hole. Ashley, those artifacts are real. They were stolen from actual museums. I know that now. But Becca, I swear to God, I didn't know then. And when I found out the truth 3 days ago, I tried to shut down the operation. What happened 3 days ago? I went to pick up a shipment at one of the storage units, and there was a guy there I'd never seen before. Big guy, expensive suit, looked like he could break someone in half. He told me that I was done with the hands-on work, that from now on everything would be shipped directly to buyers. Ashley's voice was getting more shaky. That's when I realized I wasn't running this operation. I was just the face of it, the fall guy. Ashley, if you weren't running it, who was? Mom and Dad, they've been planning this for years. Becca, they've been planning to destroy both of us to cover their tracks. I sat down hard on my couch. Both of us. Think about it. Your name is on all the legal documents, right? The business licenses, the bank accounts, the rental agreements. Yes, and my name and face are on all the actual transactions. I'm the one who met with sellers, picked up shipments, delivered items to buyers. If this thing gets investigated, who goes to prison? The horrible logic was becoming clear. You and me. Exactly. Mom and Dad set it up so that legally, you're responsible, and practically, I'm responsible. They get to play the innocent parents who were deceived by their criminal daughters. I felt sick. Ashley, why should I believe you? You've been lying to me for 2 years, because 3 hours ago, I went to Mom and Dad's house to confront them about the setup. Becca, they showed me the news article about the investigation, the one that says you're the mastermind. I saw that article. Did you see the quote from Mom? I hadn't read the whole article carefully. I grabbed Mark's laptop and pulled it up again, scrolling down to find what Ashley was talking about. There it was. A quote from my mother. We're devastated to learn about Rebecca's criminal activities. Ashley was just following her older sister's instructions. We had no idea Rebecca was using our younger daughter to commit these terrible crimes. The words hit me like a physical blow. My own mother, talking to a reporter, painting me as the criminal mastermind and Ashley as my innocent victim. Ashley, why are you telling me this now? Because when I confronted them about it, Dad told me something that made me realize how expendable we both are to them. What he said, don't worry about Rebecca. If she's smart, she'll keep her mouth shut and take the deal. She's strong enough to handle a few years in prison. And if she's not smart, well, that's not our problem anymore. Was quiet for a long moment, processing what my father had apparently said about me. Becca, are you there? Yeah, Ashley, if you're telling the truth about not knowing the artifacts were real, why didn't you come forward when you found out? Because I'm a coward. Okay, because I was terrified of going to prison. Because Mom and Dad convinced me that if I just kept quiet and let them handle it, everything would be fine. And now I realize that handling it meant destroying you to save themselves. And Becca, I may be a lot of things, but I'm not going to let them send you to prison for something you didn't do. I heard Mark's footsteps in the hallway. He appeared in the doorway, raising his eyebrows questioningly. I mouthed Ashley, and he sat down next to me, close enough to hear. Ashley, what are you proposing? I think we need to work together. I think we need to tell the police the truth about what Mom and Dad were really doing. You mean turn them in? I mean stop letting them turn us in. Becca, they're not going to save us. They're going to sacrifice us to save themselves. About the package that morning, the way my mother's voice had been so artificially sweet, the timing of everything. Ashley, I have to ask you something. Who called in the anonymous tip this morning? Who warned the police about the package? There was a long pause. I did. When Dad told me they were going to send that final shipment to your house, I realized what they were doing. They wanted you to open stolen artifacts in front of federal agents. They wanted you to be caught red-handed. So you called the police. I called them from a payphone and told them you were about to receive stolen goods, and that you didn't know what was coming. I couldn't let them destroy you, Becca. I felt tears starting again. For the first time in years, Ashley had actually protected me instead of throwing me under the bus. Ashley, where are you now? I'm at a motel in Flagstaff. I drove here after the confrontation with Mom and Dad. I'm scared, Becca. I think they're going to try to pin everything on me now that their plan to use you fell through. Mark spoke up for the first time. Ashley, this is Mark. Rebecca's been told not to contact family members during the investigation. I know, but Mark, I think Rebecca's in danger. I think Mom and Dad are desperate enough to do something really stupid. What do you mean? I mean, what if the police investigation doesn't go the way they want? What if they need Rebecca to disappear permanently? A chill ran down my spine. Ashley, that's crazy. They're not killers. Becca, 3 days ago I would have said they weren't international art thieves either. How well do we really know them? Mark and I looked at each other. He was thinking the same thing I was. If my parents were capable of systematically destroying my life to cover their crimes, what else were they capable of? Ashley, I need to think about this, and I need to talk to Detective Chen. Okay, but Becca, don't go anywhere alone for the next few days. And if Mom or Dad want to meet with you, don't do it. Why? Because desperate people do desperate things. And Becca, they're very desperate right now. After I hung up, Mark and I sat in silence for a long time. Do you believe her? He finally asked. I don't know. But Mark, what if she's right? What if my parents are more dangerous than we thought? Then we need to be very, very careful. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside made me jump. Every car that drove past our house made me wonder if my parents were desperate enough to come looking for me. Because Ashley was right about one thing: desperate people do desperate things. And my parents were about to become very desperate indeed. 2 days after Ashley's midnight phone call, Detective Chen contacted me with news that would force the final confrontation with my parents. Mrs. Martinez, we need you to come to the station immediately. Your sister has turned herself in, and she's asking to speak with you. My hands were shaking as Mark drove me to the Phoenix Police Department. Ashley turning herself in could mean she was telling the truth about wanting to expose our parents, or it could mean this was all an elaborate setup to make me look even more guilty. When I walked into the interview room, Ashley looked like she'd aged 5 years in the past week. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had the hollow-eyed look of someone who hadn't slept in days. Becca, she stood up as if to hug me, then seemed to think better of it. Ashley, Detective Chen was there with another officer I didn't recognize, a stern-looking man in an expensive suit who introduced himself as Agent Rodriguez from the FBI. Mrs. Martinez, your sister, has provided us with some very interesting information about this operation. She's agreed to cooperate fully with our investigation in exchange for a reduced sentence. I looked at Ashley. What kind of information? Everything, Becca. Bank records, storage unit locations, contact information for buyers and sellers, and most importantly, evidence that proves Mom and Dad were the real masterminds. Agent Rodriguez opened a thick folder. Mrs. Martinez, your sister has provided us with recordings of conversations between your parents and various criminal contacts. Financial records showing money trails that lead directly back to your parents, personal accounts, and documentation proving that your identity was stolen with their knowledge and assistance. Recordings. Ashley looked embarrassed. After our phone call the other night, I realized I needed proof of what Mom and Dad were really doing, so I went back to their house, wearing a wire. You wore a wire to confront our parents. Becca, I knew you'd never believe me without proof, and I knew the FBI would never believe me without evidence. Agent Rodriguez played a recording on his laptop. My father's voice, clear and unmistakable. Ashley, you need to understand that Rebecca was always supposed to be the fall guy for this operation. We've been setting up her legal liability for 2 years. If the investigation gets too close, we blame everything on her and you, and we disappear with the money we've been moving to offshore accounts. My mother's voice joined in. Rebecca's always been too trusting. She signed those documents without reading them, just like we knew she would. And if she starts asking questions now, well, accidents happen. The recording stopped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Did she just threaten to kill me? Agent Rodriguez nodded grimly. We believe so. Mrs. Martinez, your parents have been planning to eliminate both you and your sister if this investigation got too close to them. Ashley reached across the table and grabbed my hand. Becca, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I got involved in this. I'm sorry I used your name. And I'm sorry it took me so long to realize what Mom and Dad were really doing. I looked at my sister, really looked at her, for the first time in years. Behind the exhaustion and fear, I saw something I hadn't seen since we were children: genuine remorse. Ashley, why should I trust you now? Because I have nothing left to lose. Because they were going to destroy both of us anyway. And because... She paused, tears starting to flow. Because you're my sister, and I love you, and I can't let them hurt you anymore. Agent Rodriguez cleared his throat. Mrs. Martinez, we need your help to bring your parents into custody safely. They don't know yet that Ashley has turned herself in or that we have these recordings. What do you need me to do? We need you to agree to meet with them. Wear a wire, get them to admit their crimes on tape, and help us build an airtight case. The idea of facing my parents, knowing what I now knew about their plans for me, was terrifying. What if they realize it's a setup? Detective Chen spoke up. Mrs. Martinez, your parents called this morning. They want to meet with you tomorrow afternoon at a restaurant in Tucson. They specifically requested that you come alone. Ashley gripped my hand tighter. Becca, don't do it. It's too dangerous. But Agent Rodriguez shook his head. Actually, this gives us the perfect opportunity. Mrs. Martinez, If you agree to help us, we'll have undercover agents positioned throughout the restaurant. You'll never be in real danger. I thought about everything my parents had done to me. The years of emotional manipulation, the way they'd set me up to take the fall for their crimes, the casual way my mother had talked about accidents happening to me. I'll do it. The next afternoon, I sat in Rosita's Mexican restaurant in Tucson, wearing a wire and waiting for my parents to arrive. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my water glass. At exactly 2 p.m., they walked in. My mother was wearing her best church dress, and my father had on the suit he wore to funerals. They looked like respectable retirees, meeting their daughter for lunch. Rebecca, sweetheart. Mom rushed over and hugged me like nothing had happened. We've been so worried about you. Dad sat down and immediately launched into their prepared speech. Rebecca, we need to talk about this situation with Ashley. We think she's been using your name for illegal activities, and we want to help you clear your name. I stared at them. These people who had raised me, who I'd loved and trusted my entire life, they were sitting there calmly planning to pin their crimes on me and Ashley, acting like concerned parents. What kind of illegal activities? Mom leaned forward conspiratorially. We think she's been forging your signature on business documents. We found some papers in her room that looked very suspicious. The audacity was breathtaking. They were literally describing their own crimes and attributing them to Ashley. What papers? Bank account applications, loan documents, business licenses. Dad said, Rebecca, we think Ashley has stolen your identity to commit serious financial crimes. I took a deep breath, remembering the FBI agents positioned around the restaurant. Dad, how would Ashley even know how to forge legal documents? She's never been good with paperwork. Well, he said, she's always been craftier than we gave her credit for. But these documents would have required someone with experience in government procedures, banking regulations, import-export law. Ashley doesn't know anything about that stuff. My parents exchanged a quick glance. Rebecca, Mom said carefully, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that whoever set up this operation knew exactly how to navigate federal regulations, how to move money without detection, and how to create legal documents that would stand up to scrutiny. That's not Ashley. Ashley can barely balance a checkbook. Dad's face was getting red. Rebecca, are you accusing us of something? I'm saying that this operation was too sophisticated for Ashley to have planned alone. Someone with experience in government procedures helped her. We would never. You worked for the State Tax Bureau for 30 years. Dad, you know exactly how to manipulate government paperwork. The silence stretched out for what felt like hours. Finally, Mom spoke, and for the first time, her voice was cold and calculating. Rebecca, you need to be very careful about what you're implying. Why? What are you going to do about it? Dad leaned forward. Sweetheart, you don't understand the situation you're in. Your name is on everything. Your signature is on every major document. If this investigation continues, you're going to prison. Unless you cooperate with us. Let us handle this situation. We can make sure Ashley takes the blame for everything, and you walk away clean. I felt sick. You want me to let my sister go to prison for your crimes? Ashley got herself into this mess, Mom said. And Rebecca, we're trying to protect you. But if you're not willing to be protected. She didn't finish the sentence, but the implication was clear. What happens if I don't cooperate? Dad's expression turned genuinely menacing. Then you'll have to live with the consequences of your choices. And Rebecca, sometimes those consequences can be very permanent. That was it, the explicit threat I needed. I stood up from the table. Are you threatening to kill me? Don't be dramatic, Mom said. We're just pointing out that people who don't cooperate with families sometimes find themselves in dangerous situations. Dangerous situations like what happened to Ashley's friend Maria. I was fishing, but Dad's face went white. How do you know about Maria? I didn't know anything about Maria, but now I did. What did you do to her? That was an accident, Mom said quickly. She was going to expose the operation. We couldn't let that happen. Agent Rodriguez's voice suddenly came through a hidden speaker. FBI, nobody move. Within seconds, the restaurant was full of federal agents. My parents looked around in shock as they realized they'd just confessed to murder on tape. Rebecca, Dad's voice was small and confused. What have you done? I protected myself, I said. Something I should have done a long time ago. As they put handcuffs on my parents, my mother looked at me with more hatred than I'd ever seen in another human being. You ungrateful little bitch. After everything we've done for you. Everything you've done for me. You mean stealing my identity, ruining my credit, setting me up for federal prison, and planning to kill me if I didn't cooperate. We gave you life," she screamed as they led her away. "And then you tried to take it back," I replied. 6 months later, I sat in a federal courthouse watching my parents receive their sentences. Robert Thompson, 25 years for racketeering, money laundering, identity theft, conspiracy, and accessory to murder. Linda Thompson, 20 years for the same charges. Ashley had received 5 years with the possibility of parole in 3, thanks to her cooperation with the investigation. She was in a minimum security facility in Arizona, and we'd been writing letters to each other, tentatively rebuilding a relationship that had been poisoned by our parents' manipulation. The case had made national news. Arizona art smuggling ring exposed by daughter's courage, read one headline. Parents frame own children in $1 million crime scheme, read another. But for me, the headlines weren't what mattered. What mattered was that I finally understood who my family really was and who I really was. Agent Rodriguez found me in the courthouse hallway after sentencing. "Mrs. Martinez, how are you holding up?" "I'm okay. It's strange, you know. I thought I'd feel sad watching them get sentenced. But mostly I just feel ... free. Free from the obligation to love people who never loved me back. Free from the guilt of not being good enough for them. Free from the fear that I was the problem." He nodded. "Mrs. Martinez, can I ask you something? When you agreed to wear that wire, were you scared? Terrified?" But I realized something in that moment. The people who were supposed to protect me were the ones I needed protection from. And once I accepted that, the choice became easy. Mark appeared at my side, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Over the past 6 months, our marriage had become stronger than ever. Going through this nightmare together had shown us both what really mattered. "Ready to go home?" he asked. "More than ready." As we walked out of the courthouse, I thought about the question Ashley had asked me during one of our phone calls the week before. "Becca, do you think we can ever be a real family? You and me, I mean. I think we can try," I'd told her. "But it has to be different this time. It has to be honest. No more golden children and scapegoats. No more golden children and scapegoats." The truth is, some families are broken beyond repair. Some people are incapable of love, only manipulation. Some parents see their children as tools to be used, rather than people to be cherished. But some families can be rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. Some siblings can find their way back to each other after years of being turned against one another. Ashley and I are working on that. It's slow, and it's painful, and there are days when I wonder if we're fooling ourselves. But for the first time in our lives, we're trying to build a relationship based on truth instead of lies, on protection instead of betrayal. And maybe that's enough. The federal investigation ultimately uncovered $4.2 million in stolen artifacts, traced back to 17 different museums and private collections across Mexico and the southwestern United States. My parents had been running their operation for almost 5 years, long before Ashley ever got involved. They'd started small, selling replicas and minor pieces, but when they realized how much money was involved, they'd graduated to major theft. The murder agent Rodriguez had mentioned Ashley's friend Maria turned out to be a museum security guard who'd discovered my parents' connection to a theft in New Mexico. They'd arranged for her to have a car accident on a mountain road. My parents weren't just art thieves, they were killers who had been willing to murder their own daughter to protect their operation. Learning that changed something fundamental in how I see the world. It taught me that evil doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it looks like your mom making you birthday pancakes. Sometimes it sounds like your dad calling you sweetheart. Sometimes the people who destroy you are the ones who claim to love you most. But it also taught me something else, that courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is being terrified and doing the right thing anyway. The day I agreed to wear that wire, I wasn't brave. I was scared out of my mind. But I was also done being a victim of people who saw my love for them as a weakness to exploit. And I have moved to a new house in a different part of Phoenix. We changed our phone number, and I legally changed my last name back to my maiden name, Martinez, instead of Thompson. I wanted no connection to the people who had tried to destroy me. Sometimes people ask me if I miss my parents. The honest answer is complicated. I miss the idea of parents. I miss believing that someone loved me unconditionally. I missed the fantasy of family that I carried in my head for 36 years. But do I miss Robert and Linda Thompson? Do I miss the people who forged my signature, stole my identity, planned to send me to prison, and threatened to kill me when I didn't cooperate? No, I don't miss them at all. What I've learned is that family isn't about blood, it's about people who protect you instead of using you, who lift you up instead of tearing you down, who see your happiness as important as their own. Mark is my family. Ashley is becoming family again, slowly and carefully. The friends who supported me through this nightmare are family, and the people who gave birth to me, they're strangers who happen to share my DNA. REFLICTON. The hardest part of this entire experience wasn't discovering that my parents were criminals. It was accepting that they had never really loved me at all. For 36 years, I had twisted myself into knots trying to earn their approval, trying to be the daughter they wanted, trying to understand why I was never enough for them. I blamed myself for the distance between us. I thought if I could just be more successful, more helpful, more accommodating, they would finally see my worth. But you can't earn love from people who are incapable of giving it. You can't be good enough for people who see goodness as weakness. You can't build a real relationship with people who view you as a tool rather than a person. The package that arrived on my birthday was meant to destroy my life. Instead, it revealed the truth about people I'd spent decades trying to please. And in a strange way, that truth set me free. I'm not responsible for my parents' inability to love me. I'm not responsible for Ashley's choices or their consequences. I'm not responsible for fixing relationships that were broken from the beginning. I'm only responsible for protecting myself, for choosing people who choose me back, and for building the kind of life that honors my own worth. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to stop loving people who don't love you back. So here's my question for you. Is there someone in your life who claims to love you but consistently hurts you? Someone who uses your love for them as a weapon against you? Someone who makes you feel like you're never quite enough, no matter how hard you try? What would happen if you stopped trying to earn their love and started protecting yourself instead? If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Share your own experiences with toxic family dynamics in the comments below. Sometimes sharing our stories helps others realize they're not alone. And remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish. Sometimes it's the only way to survive.